Hello. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the unique value that Infoblox can provide to security teams. My name is Tom Grimes. I'm the Director of Cybersecurity Sales here at Infoblox. Say you're a security professional and you have two alerts that you see in your console. One is a ransomware alert and another one is a command and control alert. Which one would you deal with first? A lot of times when I talk to security professionals, they will talk about dealing with the ransomware alert first. But what if I told you the context around that and that ransomware alert came from a device that's on your guest network, and the command and control alert that you have is actually from your CFO's laptop or your mission critical web server on your network? So obviously that context does matter and does help security professionals prioritize their actions based on alerts. And that's where Infoblox plays a very major role, because every single IP address on a network, we have the potential to take metadata around DHCP fingerprints, device attributions, what switches it plugged in, and we store all this data inside of what we call an IP address management or IPAM database. And we can expose that IPAM database to your security teams. That's the value that we've been providing for customers for over 20 years. Infoblox as a company has over 20 years of innovation around DNS, DHCP, IP address management. And when you think about all of the things that we're being able to provide to customers, I always look at it from a DNS point of view. And I've been taught that the DNS is the phone book of the internet. So I wanted to know, how big is that phone book? Would you be surprised to know there's over 351 second level domains inside of DNS? There's over 1,500 top level domains in the internet today. There was one that was created back in 2012 called .wtf. It means exactly what you're thinking about. It was created as a joke. There's over 2 million domains associated with that today. So I always ask customers, some of these vanity domains or these novelty domains, do your mission critical IT/OT devices or your web servers, do they have the access or the ability to talk to those? A lot of times people use DNS as a utility, and the answer is yes. There's over 200,000 new domains that are created every single day. And if it takes you 1 or 2 minutes to research each of these domains to see if they're business worthy, this could take thousands of years to try to do this research yourself. So if you wanted to do this yourself and use DNS in your security ecosystem, we think about this in terms of like a detection and response capability. So being able to look at your DNS logs and put them into a big database, and then be able to go out there and maybe get some PhDs to create some algorithms that could bubble up insights or threat leads that you could then turn over to your security analyst team to do the research and then create, okay, this is something we want to block at the DNS level. But then you're going to want to make sure that you're not blocking mission critical devices. There may be an active threat, but it may be hosted on Amazon as an example, and you don't want to block all of Amazon. And then now that you've got this threat list, you need to package it up in a way that an enforcement device can take advantage of it. So for example, with Infoblox as a DNS company, being able to package that up so you could provide the blocks inside of DNS. So this would take companies a lot of time, effort, resources, and money. Or you can buy a subscription service from a company like Infoblox, a protective DNS service, where we can do all this for you inside of a subscription and automate that. So we call this DNS detection and response subscription that we have Plox One Threat Defense. And there's a lot of benefits. So first and foremost, you get a lot of networking benefits. So as the service, you can actually point to our cloud service, and you'll get access to things like our secure resolver. So now you can start to use our cloud as a DNS cache layer. So your DNS queries leaving your organization will be encrypted. We also have the ability to tie in things like IPAM that we talked about and application discoveries, just to see visibility on what people, devices, and applications are running on your network. And then you can start to layer on some security capabilities inside of our product. So we do provide a DNS block list. We block things like known bad ransomware, malware, command and control. We're a full protective DNS service, so a full attack surface mitigation around DNS around that. And then we also provide things like lookalike monitoring. And then as you go further into our security capabilities, you'll start to see things like we have the ability to look inside of every single DNS query and do behavioral monitoring against that. We also have a very large DNS threat database with a lot of DNS context that you can then do research on as a threat research or analyst team. The real value of this is not necessarily having all of this data inside of our console, but how we can expose this to your existing security ecosystem. So your SIM SOARs that want to basically have that DNS context through our API, you can expose that, and we can do some beautiful playbooks with a lot of security vendors, probably some that you're already using in your environment. This whole concept is around detection and response. And again, just like any other detection and response, whether it's endpoint or network, what we're looking at is the telemetry and the data that you have. In this case, it's DNS queries, and we're searching for that. We think of DNS servers on your network as providing a flight data recorder for all the network activity that goes on. It really starts at the intent to communicate, and we can be able to mine that data and try to look for threats inside of there. One example of how we're doing this is our lookalike domain protection. We've been doing this for years inside of our product. We just announced some enhancements to our lookalike domain protection because the attackers have kind of morphed their attacks. We announced this at RSA 2023. We had a nice little paper on it. We all know malware authors and the domains that are trying to intimidate our domains that we as consumers use. So even Infoblox as a company, we're a target to this, right? So infoblox.com, as far as typo squatting, and someone registered Infoblox benefits to try to target some of our employees. They also tried to register Infoblox Grid to kind of target some of our grid architecture and try to get some domain typo squatting there. So does looking inside of this DNS queries or doing this DNS detection and response provide a benefit? What I would say is absolutely. As a company, we published a lot of things that we found inside of DNS. The one that I'll bring up today is around a threat actor. And this is, again, a nation state, high sophisticated threat actor. We dubbed this attack Decoy Dog because it was using a remote access Trojan called Puppy. And this was found by hunting inside of DNS requests. But the interesting thing about this attack, and again, we find millions of attacks every single day. But when you think about it, we raised the red flag and we published a lot of papers around this. You may be asking yourself why, because our original threat vector around this, the queries inside of our customer networks were from network devices. So this, again, was unusual for us to see these types of queries, DNS tunneling kind of queries coming from network devices. In this case, they were firewall devices. But we used our IPAM data to kind of be able to bring in that context of these were queries from a network device. Once we basically put these domains into a block list, we found that some of the domains that the attackers were using were already being blocked in our suspicious threat feed. So we basically, when we're looking at all of these new domains that are created or just seen on the network, we have the ability to block them. We don't know what malicious intent users are going to be having with that. So we put that into a suspicious block feed. You can block this as an organization. We only had 4 false positives out of 7.5 million indicators around that. So again, you can block this as an enterprise organization. These are indicators that Infoblox as a company said, hey, you probably as a business aren't going to have a business impact if you block these, and they'll only provide protection. In this case, with Decoy Dog, some of the domains that we were blocking were attack vectors for this particular threat actor. So you would, as an organization, if you were blocking on suspicious, you would have already been protected. So again, hopefully that will give you an interesting view of what Blox One Threat Defense can provide to security organizations and the value that Infoblox can provide to security teams. So thanks again for your time and look forward to future conversations.